Zero party data. It's the golden buzzword right now, the silver bullet that's going to transform your email marketing. Everyone's saying how you must have it, how you're stupid not to have it. All the best brands are doing it, but no one's actually showing you how to collect zero party data and how to implement it. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing in today's video. I'll be showing you how to collect zero party data in your pop-up form, and then how to implement this zero party data into your welcome flow to 2 to 3x your current conversions. So everything that we're doing today is just in a dummy Klaviyo account, and some of the things I say might differ slightly depending on the apps, the ESP that you're using. For example, Klaviyo, Yotpo, SendLane might differ across the board, whether you're using a pop-up app, something like FormToro or just Uno, but the principles apply across the board. So, as mentioned, we're going to be collecting zero-party data in our sign-up form. Now, this is the best and most effective method of collecting zero-party data because it's what's known as pre-intent. So, they haven't placed an order at this point. They've simply landed on your website, be it the homepage, a product page, a blog page, whatever it is, and they clearly have some kind of interest in the brand, be it they've clicked on an ad or they've searched for a product. So we're collecting data before they've even placed an order so we can personalize communications, content offerings to that person so they're much more likely to convert. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to create a very, very basic sign-up form. I'm not going to be designing it, doing all the copy. I'm just going to be showing you how to collect the data. So in this case, we'll take this multi-step form here. Now, generally, the best thing to do on the initial pop-up is just collect the email and have this button say something like subscribe or sign up, whatever it is, and then we go on to the next stage of the pop-up, which is where we now start to collect the data. Okay, so now actually on to collecting the data. So this is a multi-step pop-up form, and to add additional steps outside of the email opt-in, this little plus step at the top here, you just click on that one, and in this case, we're collecting profile information. So you click there, add step. Now I won't do it here because these have already been added. It won't come out of the box looking like this. You'll have to play around with it, and I'll show you how to do that now. So obviously in this case, we're doing an example skincare brand. So you change the copy based on the question that you're asking. So in this case, it's around like a pain point, like a buying motivation of that person. Once we change the copy, then we're then going to want to add in multiple buttons. So you simply add a block. In this case, button here, we drag it in and we change it to the option that it is. Obviously, we've already got these three set up. So I'll delete this one. Now, with each of these buttons, we're going to want to make sure that the action is submit form rather than close form or go to URL or anything like that. And when they submit the form, we're going to then show the next step of this pop-up form, which in this case is interest at the top here. Now, the important thing with these buttons is we need to add a profile property when someone clicks on them. So when you click on a button, and obviously it comes up with all these options here, what we're going to want to do is add a property. And in this case, let's call it pain point. So we'll call it pain point. For example, here it's dry skin, which is already created. And we'll save that. And then we'll do this for the rest of the options. So again, pain point. And then we'll have to create this one here. So acne, and then just do create acne. And then the same with oily skin. So add another property, add pain point. And then we'll do oily skin in this example, which I can't spell. Oily skin, there we go. Now, when someone clicks on whichever button it is that's most relevant to them, so let's say, for example, they had dry skin, they click on this button, it's going to add that profile property to their profile within Klaviyo, and then it will take them on to the next stage, which will then show them another relevant question. So in this case, we're going to be asking what products interest you most. So again, carrying on with the skincare example, we've got moisturizers, retinols, which again I spelled incorrectly, retinols, and serums. So again, same thing's going to apply. So we add a property, in this case, let's do interest. And then we're going to add, moisturizers. And we'll do create moisturizers. And of course, I won't do this on the video. We'll repeat that down through all the buttons. Now, again, when someone clicks on this button, we're going to want to make sure that it's submit form, show next step, at which point they then land on the success page. Now, best practice with your pop-up form is to offer the discount in the pop-up form. Reason being, we don't want to have to force someone off the website, go into their inbox, find the discount code, and then click back on the email, go back onto the website. It just adds far too many hoops, far too many friction points, which massively increases the chances of you losing the sale. Now, some email bros will be like, oh, but attributed revenue is going to go down. Attributed revenue is a little bit of a vanity metric. There is some weight behind it, and it is a general good indicator of email performance and health, but it shouldn't be the thing that determines what you do, and it shouldn't be used or be prioritized over the customer experience. So once they get to the success page, we're going to add a block, and of course we just chuck in the coupon here. Let's say, for example, we put it there, and then obviously if it's a Shopify coupon, then you'd find the option in here. In this case, it's test 10. So it's going to dynamically generate every time. And then we want a fallback coupon. So let's just go for, I don't know, first 10 instead, which will be a static coupon code, which you have to have created in your Shopify. So if there isn't any dynamic codes available, they will be shown this one instead, so they can still go ahead and make the purchase. So this is how we collect the zero-party data in your pop-up forms. So when someone answers all of this, they get to the end, we've now got all of that data on them. And of course, you can add more questions. So we could add an additional question here. So we can have up to 3 questions with Klaviyo. There are other apps like FormToro, which will allow more, but Klaviyo is limited. So just make it relevant to your brand and collect as much data as you see fit. So we've now collected the data. I'll then go on to show you how to implement this in your welcome flow and 2 to 3x your current conversions. Okay, so creating the flow, we're just going to create one from scratch here. So we'll just call this welcome test. We're going to create that one. And then, of course, we're going to have to set up the trigger. In this case, it will be added to list, and we'll do newsletter, save that. And for the sake of this video and the fact that we're going through zero-party data, I won't take you through the flow filters and what have you. Of course, we then have the profile property update here so let's do it just to show you. So exclude as a Boolean is true, save that one. Now, there's a few ways that you can implement zero-party data into your emails, or a couple ways. I'll show you both of them. I have a preference, which I will tell you about, and the method that you choose very much depends on things like your deliverability, how many dynamic blocks you're going to have in the email and what have you, and how accurate you want to be with tracking where your revenue is coming from. So the first way that I'll show you is we'll have a conditional split. Within this conditional split, we've obviously just collected certain custom profile properties of people signing up. We're going to go on to properties about someone, dimension. So remember in the pop-up we had pain point, equals, and then let's say dry skin in this example, save. Now that will have both a yes and no path. So if someone answers dry skin, they'll go down this path. Obviously if they've answered oily skin or acne, they'll then be pushed down the no path. So we'll want an additional conditional split here. And we'll say, again, properties about someone, pain point. In this case, because we haven't got that property assigned to someone, we won't be able to do it, but you have acne or oily skin here. Now, if you just want to have one variable that changes within the email, so you're basing the content off one profile property, in this case, let's say dry skin, we'd simply add in an email. And of course, we'd customize the email to be relevant around dry skin. So we might show testimonials of people that had dry skin before, and now, it's moisturized, they're much happier, confidence is up, those kind of things. We might also show products relevant to or that alleviate dry skin, so moisturizers. We might show before and afters. The copy might be relevant around it. So it might talk about certain specific scenarios that people go through when they have dry skin. And of course, we can repeat this for oily skin and acne. So again, we might show products related to them, hero images or lifestyle images that are related to it. Again, before and afters, etc. Now, if you want to go one step further and have multiple variables within the email that are customized to that person's answers in the pop-up form, then we'll have to do the following steps, which I'll show you now. Okay, so as mentioned, if we want to have multiple variables within the email that are relevant to that person's answers, there's a couple ways that we can do this. Firstly, we could have a conditional split within the first conditional split. So if someone has dry skin, they go down the yes path and they're met with another conditional split. At this point, we're then going to ask them about their interests, so the product that they're most interested in. Are they interested in moisturizers? Yes, they'll then go down this path here, where of course we'll make the emails relevant to both dry skin and moisturizers. If not, we'll then enter a separate conditional split. So we might say interest equals retinols. So if it's yes, they'll then go down this path, at which point we customize the content to be about dry skin and retinols. If no, then obviously there's only one option left. So that means that their interest was serums. So of course we do dry skin and serums. Now, of course, as you start to collect more data points and have more possible variations to customize the emails, this can result in the flow being very complex. A lot of conditional splits, multiple emails having to be copied and or cloned and then slightly tweaked, and it can result in a lot of complexities. Now, there is another way of doing this. So let's say, for example, we'll delete this conditional split here. We'll delete the no path. So someone has dry skin, they enter this first email. Now, we also want to talk about, whether they like moisturizers or retinols or whatever it is, or show testimonials around them. So another way of doing this is if we just create a very basic template. So we'll just go for this default one here. Now that this one is created, let's say, for example, we'll add in an image in here. So one image shows people using a serum or a moisturizer, whatever it is. One image shows vice versa. Now, we only want to show a certain image to someone who's answered a certain property. So this is where we come into the display sections. Okay, so you come into the display section, and then we're going to add show hide logic to this specific block. So say we only want to show this to people who answered moisturizers. We'll add the following logic in here. So person, lookup, and then it is the category of the question. So in this case, it will be interest. So we'll change what's in here to interest. 2 equal signs equals moisturizers. And then we'll save changes. And we'll do the same here. So say if we only want to show this to people that answered retinols, we'll again do create logic, paste this in here, change this to interest, and then change this to retinols. Save changes, done. Now, adding this show hide logic is only going to show this block to someone who answered, in this case, retinols, in this case, moisturizers. So this allows you to have multiple sections within the email that are dynamic based on what someone answered. Now, there's a few caveats that you must consider when doing this. Firstly, adding multiple blocks into your email, dynamic blocks, can result in the size of the email massively increasing, running into the risk of your emails clipping within Gmail, which of course is going to affect performance. So one thing to just look at before you send out an email is click on preview and test, and it's going to show you the email size up here. Generally, you don't want it to go above 85 kilobytes because you massively increase your chances of clipping at that point. So try and keep it below that. Second thing to consider is when doing this, of course, there's multiple variables within the email that can change. So it's hard to directly attribute and track where most of your revenue is coming from. So let's say, for example, we go down the dry skin path, and of course we have multiple dynamic blocks in here depending on what someone answered as their interest, be it moisturizers, retinols, or serums. The people answering retinols might actually be the ones converting at the highest in this email. So they spend the most money. Out of all the people that sign up, the people that answer retinols, they convert highest. But we're not going to be able to see this because, of course, we can't distinguish between whether it is from moisturizers or retinols. So that's where you start seeing extra problems around, okay, are our highest value customers actually people that answer a certain question? And that's when it can start, you start running into difficulties. So personally, I prefer the multiple splits, so the conditional splits based on profile properties. That way it's easier to track where most of your revenue is coming from. And of course, you can then use this data and feed it to your paid ads teams and say, look, our highest value customers are all saying answering retinols and dry skin. Let's really hone in on this. It can be focused in on your landing pages, your organic content, and so on. So yeah, that is how you collect and implement zero-party data into your email strategy. This can be used across multiple flows. So you could use it in your ban and checkout flows. You could use it in win-back flows or replenishment flows. But your welcome flow is going to be the biggest lever to pull in terms of implementing zero-party data, because this is your highest volume flow, is probably, well, always your highest revenue generating flow, alongside things like your ban and checkout and browser abandonment. So stick to your highest volume flows when implementing zero-party data, because as you can see, it does create a lot of extra work. So you want to make sure that the resource investment in implementing it is worth it. So don't use it on things like your sunset flow. But yeah, that's me waffling on now. That is how you implement zero-party data. Hopefully that helped.